Do you want 27 damage? You want lesser damage for more frames, 1 additional frames, and you want to be in RFF immediately? Or do you want to remain in LFF, take 3 more damage and 1 frame less? Welcome to Open Hwo Lessons. Last time we talked about DF1s, these stuff. Again, if you want to check out that video, link in the description below. So, today, we're going to talk about punishers. Again, also another video about that, link in the description below. We're going to talk about covering mainly 4-3 and 4F4. We're not including 4-4 as an 11 frame punisher, mainly because this situation is completely different despite being plus 10. And for me, the main reason why I'm not including it for this video is because you can't block. So there's always an option where you could potentially lose or not get enough reward. So basically the best you could do is like something like a check, something like that. If you do 4-3, you can still block and you have options. And if you do 4F4, you can still block and you have options. So LFF and RFF mainly. Those are the go-to punishers you should be going for. And I actually mentioned that in the Hwoarang punishers video. Yeah. So we're going to go a little bit more in depth. What are the differences between the two? And which one you should prefer, right? Let's get down to it. Let's start with frames. Again, the differences in frames. 4-3 is plus 5 LFF. So LFF means, again, default stance. You're here and left foot forward. You can freely move. You can block. And from this stance, you can do left flamingo, right flamingo, or even backdash into RFF. So let's say you could do that 4-3 into backdash RFF, 4-3 into left flamingo mix-up, 4-3 into right flamingo mix-up. Or if not, just 4-3 into a classic DF1. Or start up some offense immediately and then do down 3-4. You can. It is an option. Now, in Season 4, this move got buffed and its animation changed. You could see it. Like, he kicks a lot more. He has more force on the second kick. Before, he didn't. And the second kick now knocks down on counter hit. But of course, if you're punishing an opponent, that's not going to happen. It's a unique bonus you get. So just in case you throw out the move, you're not going to just get the plus 5. You're going to get a knockdown and then you do, Oki. So it's 30 damage. This used to be 25 damage, I believe. So now it's 30. This makes it equal to a 4-3 plus 4-4 at 30 damage plus 4. Big difference because it has 1 additional frame. So what are the differences for frames for 4F4? Now this move is plus 6. Plus 6 RFF. So again, no, our DF4 still does not track at plus 6, unfortunately. However, you can still do stuff like RFF 2-4 or down back 4. And DF1 has a higher chances of tracking at plus 6. So you still have options. And backlash exists, just in case they want to go ham with it, right? So this one is 27 damage. So this used to be stronger than 4-3 in Season 3 below. It used to be better. And 4-3 is now the go-to. A couple of Hwoarangs are using this more often than not than doing 4F4. I was using 4F4 quite a lot before in Season 2 to Season 3. In Season 1, I didn't have that because it's a weird input. You have to press 4 and then F4. You might mess up the input and get 4-4 or 4-4 forward, right? That's not... If this was natural, this would have been a way better punisher, but it's not. So this takes some getting used to, while 4-3, none. There's still no issues. So that's frames, right? So plus 5, plus 6, LFF, RFF. Again, both options. You have options to track, whatnot. And then the damage is a 3 damage difference between the two. So we're gonna deep dive into the options now. The options. Because their range in terms of punishment, let's say you block something that's largely far on pushback. Let's say you blocked Brian 3 plus 4. Both of these have the same amount of range. So if this whiffs, if 4-3 whiffs, you can bet 4F4 is gonna whiff. And if you attempted to punish with 4F4, you can bet 4-3 is gonna whiff. So you're just gonna have to switch it to a longer range punisher, like let's say DF1 plus 2, if it may reach at that point, or switch it to a 4-3 plus 4. But of course, Brian 3 plus 4 is not a 4-3 plus 4. It's negative 13. But let's say you block, let's say Jack DF2, and it's too far, and these two options whiff, you have to switch to this. So every time, just in case, it's always a long range punisher and it's negative 14, swap to a 4-3 plus 4. Always. So the ranges are more or less the same. Their frames is just 1 frame difference, and then the damage is 3 damage difference. So let's go deep dive into the options for both. We're gonna have him step here. Step left. Number 1, we'll have him step left. So I'm gonna do 4-3 into forward 1 plus 2. The classic, the El Clasico. This has existed since the end of time for Hwoarang. So 4-3, forward 1 plus 2. Okay, that tracks. Let's go right side. 4-3, forward 1 plus 2. Now, they can step. If they're there, it's kind of difficult to step, but they can step it. So that's a risk you run. And of course, they should still catch sidewalks. So mainly against an average body, or a male body, like Hwoarang's, they're not going to be stepping it, right? Yeah, more or less going to be catching them, even at very, very close range. Oh, never mind. That's what I meant, where they can they can step it. So you gotta watch out for that. So that covers the most common option you would go for, the El Clasico cheese forward 1+2 for that beautiful, beautiful counter hit launch. So what is the El Clasico option for 4F4? The El Clasico option for 4F4 is RFF back 2. And as you can see now, it's already big difference. It already loses the sidestep left. It's gonna lose to the sidestep right. And it's also gonna lose to sidewalk left. And of course sidewalk right, because he's been stepping all over the place. So what do you do then? Right? So you swap the option. So if you can't use that mid, you use this mid. And if not that mid, you use this mid. And you go check that out the whole way. Okay? You're catching everything. You just want to catch everything, just like forward 1+2. But forward 1+2 also lost to only one option, so that's fine. You just need to make sure you equal it. Now, of course, the reward is vastly different. This is a counter hit launcher, while this isn't a counter hit launcher. All it does is give you the same amount of plus frames it already did on hit. It just gives a higher damage. Yeah, by 2, 14 damage from 12. So, if you want to look at it that way, then remaining in LFF is far better because of the amount of reward you can get. What if I told you you can also get that kind of reward in RFF? Except it's different. It's vastly different. Right, how is it vastly different? So, in the mix of LFF, you're gonna make your opponent get scared of this, really. You're gonna keep them in check by doing forward 1+2 the entire time, mainly. And as soon as let's say they get that one offset chance of stepping forward 1+2 after 4-3 on hit, that's when you do stuff like, let's say, down back 4, jabs. You're trying to keep them in place as much as you can already at that point. That way they stop stepping, so that you could get this again if they press. And if they choose not to press after all the stepping checks, you're gonna go straight into it, and you're gonna keep them there as much as you can, and you're gonna extend that pressure and just continue chipping at their life. So that's mainly how the mix for 4-3 on hit works. So for 4F4, you don't have a centralized mid to work things around. You technically do, and what I showcased with DF1+2. However, it's not as dangerous compared to forward 1+2. So an opponent has lesser reasons to be afraid of pressing or mashing in that particular situation. The only buttons that you can safely press, like to make an opponent scared, are mainly gonna be highs. So something like that, 4-4, or 2-4 into mix-up, or down 3-4. So lows and highs mainly what you're gonna be doing. So it's a classic Hwoarang situation where it's very similar to while standing 4-4 on hit. It's something like that, except you have 2 additional frames. So you have more leeway in doing certain stuff. That's why DF1+2 is the one that's gonna keep you checking them non-stop. So as soon as you get your 4F4, you check them here. Eventually they'll stop pressing, right? Or they'll be like, okay, I'll just block that and go for the situation after it, whatever he does after DF1+2. So now once you own that, right? Once you force them, you check them non-stop, you force them to it, that's when you go with this. And it's faster, it's way faster. Because this jails, and as you can see, it's mightily plus. But let's say they block, right? Let's not even say stepping. They just block, right? This still jails +7, +8, something like that, right? You could also do something like just RFF2. Oh, it's beautiful. Why RFF2? Because it's +2 on block. Oh, it's +2 on block. A jab that's +2 on block. That's scary. And then you can just loop it. And then this also jails. The whole thing, RFF2-1, 2-1, RFF2-1-1, that all jails. So it's fantastic that you have a mid at the end to like check them. It's only -8. So it's kind of worth it to throw out. And then once you keep them, once you've centralized them by using DF1+2 or RFF2-4 or RFF4 into Flamingo or RFF4-4 by itself, once they kind of stop doing that, so let's say you check their ducks, every time they attempt to duck these moves, you just do DF1+2, and then if they're ducking this and this, you can do like down 3-4 from RFF. So the same mix-up from 4-3 to down 3-4 still exists because you can do RFF. You can do down 3-4 from RFF. And then down back 4 as well, so you... And just loop it back. And of course, the main difference between the two, right? So you have a power crush from both stances. You have DF3, 4, and then here you have backlash. So if you get them, you could do something like that. Or, like you know they're gonna press. And then you can cancel it, absorb the hit. Or delay it so much that you can still get the guaranteed hit, provided they keep pressing the button over and over again. Because it's pseudo hit confirmable. Pseudo hit confirmable. For F4, you can literally let backlash rip. You can. And if they're not sidestep blocking, right? Let's show it. Sidestep blocking. So you already know backlash is homing. It's gonna hit here. Let's just show the tracking of DF3. Right? That whiff against sidestep left. 4-3 versus sidestep right. That catches. It's always gonna catch the right. Not the left. So there's some cons to doing it. So it loses already to both lefts. And it's gonna be it loses to 3. Loses to 3. That's why the cancel comes in, but it's still really a risk. Of course, you could let the whole move rip and catch them hopefully with the second hit, but that's still a risk because they can block that -14. With backlash, you're not gonna catch that, not unless they're on point with their punishment. So if they're just walking and they're not doing a sidestep block or a sidestep duck in between at all, this is slightly better than the DF3 situation. Like, provided you want to go for a power crush. So last one, sidestep left. And woo, straight to the floor. Free combo. That's around 75 damage on average. So those are the options, right? So that's just stepping. That's stepping. So that's like mainly how the mix-up would work versus stepping. So I know in DF1 we covered, what do you call that? Backdashing, right? Like the amount of pushback that exists on a move on hit. In Hwoarang's case, he's wild. You want to see if that exists with 4-3. And I can safely tell you, it does not. Well, maybe except for forward 1+2 because it's short. So if forward 1+2 again is not the one that's gonna catch, you can always do something like that. You can always use the other options in conjunction with forward 1+2. So the mix-up is still there. It's still there, even if they backlash. So if we do that with 4F4, 4F4, not 4-4. There's no catching. They're not. They cannot leave. They cannot leave Hwoarang's domain. And this is where this catches backdash. So it may not catch steppers, but if you know they're gonna backdash, they're just gonna hold back. This is the perfect way to put yourself in another plus frame situation that isn't a high and backlash, rather a mid. So that's how like the mix-ups operate. The mix-ups are slightly different from each other, but they have some common options. It's just that the option that's centralized for both have different rewards, different risk rewards. So with forward 1+2, if they backdash, you'll miss, you'll whiff, and they'll punish you for it. Let's demonstrate that. Bam, bam, backdash, dead. That does not happen with 4F4 into DF1+2. And these are the centralized moves. There you go, beautiful. Now you already know it loses, both lose to one step option, which is fine. You have other options to cover for that. You just need to catch the other 3, which is perfect. So that's like the main difference. So if you keep going for this, backdashing is a slight risk, but your reward is immense. And even if you get this on hit, I guess you can still kind of stay in the face. You do another jab check or a DF1 check, DF1+2 check, right? After forward 1+2, another DF1 check. Let's double check that if they can backdash that. So forward 1+2, no, they can't. So don't. If anything, do something ham like that. I don't know. Go wild, go crazy, go into the lab, check out some options. What you want to do after forward 1+2 on hit versus backdash mainly. Not against stepping, because against stepping, I'm pretty sure they're gonna get stuck here. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong move. Oh no, never mind. Lab it all. Lab it all. Of course, you could also check the Hwoarang tracking master sheet that I've made since Season 3. It's already updated to Season 4 as well. That's also going to be in the description down below. So yeah. Which move do you prefer? 4-3 as your main punish? You want to remain in LFF and use forward 1+2 as your centralized, mix-up? You revolve all the options around this, make your opponent scared of getting counter hit launched if they press. And then once they're getting scared, you can do stuff like down 3-4 or mix it up into 1-2-4, 1-2-3, whatever. The choice is yours. Or do you want to use something like 4F4? You want to enter that RFF sauce, right? Of course, provided you don't get a mistake on the input. So you can do stuff like backlash. You can do stuff like RFF back to. If they're not actually stepping at all and they're staying in place, RFF DF4 is now a viable option. Of course, that is the main risk you run with that. So your centralized option here is more of just a really mid-check poke. So you're just gonna keep telling them, no, it's not your turn. That's pretty much all you're doing the entire time. Not your turn, not your turn. And when you get that hit, right? When you get that hit that's +8, you can go for a free down 3-4. The math is in your favor. For as long as they don't attempt to low crush you, the math is in your favor. Not a lot of buttons would beat you. Aside from, of course, the super evasive buttons, right? And if you like to call this the bully stance so much, maybe you want to enter the bully stance, the cheese stance, to bully your opponent non-stop. And you have an easier JFSR. You can do JFSR from 4-3. But it's easier because, again, you're in RFF, the easier JFSR. And you have enough frames to cover for you, provided you're able to do it fast. So yeah, that's been the cheese for today. 11 frame punishers. 4-3 versus 4F4. To me, it's all about what you want. What do you prefer? Do you want 27 damage? You want lesser damage for more frames? 1 additional frames? And you want to be in RFF immediately? Or do you want to remain in LFF? Take 3 more damage and 1 frame less. And keep your options more open. Because you have access to everything from LFF, while in RFF, you're restricted to mostly RFF moves with a couple of LFF moves. I've been Frontier, and that's been the cheese. Thank you for watching. So, okay, sidestep right. How about that? DF1 to DF1. Oh. What about DF1+2 into DF1+2? Ah, okay. Clear differences have been put.